Then the view caught his eyes. From the dark, wine purple of the extreme stratosphere, Earth presented a fabulous appearance. Beneath him, the vast and misted land areas in sight, obscured here and there by patches of sun-bright clouds, showed a desert orange. Behind them, slowly receding from the stratoliner, was the soft and fuzzy night line, within whose dark shadows there was the sparkling of the radioactive areas. His attention was drawn from the window by the laughter among the others. It seemed to center about an elderly couple, comfortably stout and all smiles. Varden nudged his neighbor. "What's going on?" His neighbor paused to say, "They've been married for 40 years, and they're making the grand tour." "The grand tour?" "You know, all around the Earth." The elderly man, flushed with pleasure, was recounting in voluble fashion his experiences and impressions. His wife joined in periodically with meticulous corrections involving completely unimportant points, these being given and taken in the best of humor. To all this, the audience listened with the greatest attention, so that to Varden, it seemed that Earthmen were as warm and human as any people in the galaxy. And then someone asked, "And when is it that you're scheduled for the 60? "In about a month," came the ready, cheerful answer. 16th November. "Well," said the questioner, "I hope you have a nice day for it. My father reached his 60 in a damn pouring rain. I've never seen one like it since. I was going with him, you know, a fellow likes company on a day like that, and he complained about the rain every step of the way. We had an open bi-wheel, you see, and we got soaked." "Listen," I said, "what are you complaining about, Dad? I've got to come back." There was a general howl of laughter, which the anniversary couple were not backward in joining. Varden, however, felt plunged in horror as a distinct and uncomfortable suspicion entered his mind. He said to the man sharing his seat, "This 60, this subject of conversation here, I take it they're referring to euthanasia? I mean, you're put out of the way when you reach your 60th birthday, aren't you?" Varden's voice faded somewhat as his neighbor choked off the last of his chuckles to turn in his seat and favor the questioner with a long and suspicious stare. Finally, he said, "Well, what do you think he meant?" Hey, welcome to Sci-Fi Secrets. Today we have a political intrigue by Isaac Asimov, his very first novel, A Pebble in the Sky. In the beginning of this book, we are introduced to a man named Joseph Schwartz.
May the Schwartz be with you.
He plays a small but important role in the story. He is also a literary device that Asimov uses to teach us about the strange new universe we find ourselves in. Joseph is from 1951. While walking down the street, he is, through random chance, teleported thousands of years into the future. How far exactly is up for debate, but the minimum amount would be around 11,000 years, but it's implied in this book that it's closer to 50,000 to 100,000 years. Joseph finds himself in the galactic era. Okay, I know I said in the last video I wasn't going to do a book that was in a series, but almost everything Asimov wrote is in part of the Robot Empire Foundation universe. That is why I was careful to say on my last video that I wasn't using a book from the Foundation or Robot series. Yeah, I cheated. But the 3 books from the Empire era are all basically standalone novels, and this novel was Asimov's first novel, so even more so, you don't really need to know anything else about the rest of the universe to enjoy it. The Galactic Era is the time between when the Robot novels are set and when the Foundation novels are set. Its most memorable features are that it encompasses hundreds of millions of human-inhabited planets, all ruled by Trantor, a planet-wide city completely reliant on trade for its survival. Earth at this point is a radioactive and barely inhabited wasteland with only small pockets of habitable land. In these areas live the small population of 20 million people, who are both detested by the rest of the galaxy and detest the rest of the galaxy. Trade was virtually non-existent, as no other planets trusted Earth goods to not be dangerously radioactive. Because of this, they are the exact opposite of Trantor, completely shut off from the rest of the galaxy, barring a few individuals here and there that were either stationed on Earth by the Empire or had some rare personal business to do on Earth. One of the main characters, Bel Arvarden, is such a case, an anthropologist from the Sirius sector, who believed that Earth may be the mythical original planet all humans evolved on that was lost to history. He has come to Earth to try and get permission to dig in their sacred radioactive zones for ancient relics that would prove his theory correct. Bel believes himself to not be susceptible to his culture's ingrained bigotry against Earthlings, and has no irrational hatred of them. He also has no irrational fear of Earth's radiation, so unlike every other outsider, as Earth locals called them, he did not wear the bulky lead-impregnated clothing that other outsiders wore at all times during their stay on Earth, giving themselves away as what they were on first sight. Instead, Bel wore normal clothing and was, until making a social faux pas, taken to be from Earth by the locals. Unfortunately, due to Bel's ignorance of the culture, he couldn't help but make faux pas every time he opened his mouth. This, combined with the suspicious nature of all Earthlings, due to their tyrannical and fascistic religious theocracy that ruled the Earth, constantly spying for anyone who was disloyal, he was regularly outed everywhere he went, and then the smiles and pleasant greetings turned to hostile and untrusting looks full of venom. Bel's belief that he was above animalistic tribalism began to waver. He found himself hating the Earthlings right back. He began to believe the racial stereotypes about them from his home sector. And then he met Pola, or more accurately, he met Joseph Schwartz, the man from the past. When Joseph had been transported into the future, he had had a mental breakdown. He could not figure out how he had become stranded in this strange glowing land full of people that talked gibberish and lived in porcelain houses. He thought he must have gone insane and began to question his senses. Out of pure dumb luck, he stumbled upon a farm with a desperate family of 3 in it. Through them, we discover the horrors of living on Earth. The couple is taking care of the wife's father, who had broken his back. They are hiding the fact he is a paraplegic from the government, because if the theocracy finds out that he can no longer work, he will be euthanized. If he were younger, they may have fixed his legs. They could do that. But why waste resources on a 55-year-old man? He was close enough to the 60 that he would never repay his debt to the government in just 5 years, when he would be euthanized anyway, as part of Earth's culture, as a means of population control. The 60, the age at which every human on Earth was sentenced to death. So the married couple hid their father's disability, but this meant that they still had to produce the work of 3 people on the farm, and they were running themselves ragged in the process. So out of sheer desperation, they took in Joseph, in the hopes he could help them fulfill their farm's quotas. This strange man that could not talk, but he had a working body. He did help them fulfill those quotas for a while, but when they saw an ad in the news asking for volunteers for an experimental brain treatment, they thought this might improve his ability to run the machinery. Maybe it would even teach him how to talk right. This leads to Joseph escaping after his treatment, where he runs into Bel Arvarden on the streets. Bel has no interest in the babbling Joseph, however, so he leaves him be. That is, until he meets Pola, the beautiful daughter of the doctor who treated Joseph. She's on the streets looking for him. Bel, instantly smitten, agrees to help her. They find Joseph, but in his running and in their chasing and asking questions about a sick man, this led to the authorities being called. This is bad because Joseph doesn't have any identification papers. If Pola is caught with him, she will be in trouble also, and now Bel as well. Suddenly, a strange man appears out of nowhere. He offers to sneak Joseph out for free. With no other options, they accept his deal. It turns out he works for the theocracy, but claims to care more about their bribe money than taking in the man. We later find out that this man was stationed by the theocracy to spy on Dr. Shecht, Pola's father, because he is doing top secret work for the theocracy. So the spy reports back to his superiors that Dr. Shecht has secretly used his synapsifier, the tool that improves human brain functions, on an unknown person with no papers. This must mean he is an outsider. Then, the doctor's daughter was caught meeting with another outsider, Belle Arvarden, who claimed to be here for archaeology. To them, it seemed that their own Dr. Shecht had turned traitor and was spilling Earth's secrets to the rest of the galaxy. In reality, it was just a series of coincidences that looked very bad to people with paranoid minds. Or was it? Why did the doctor synapsify a strange man with no papers when he was working with a theocracy? Okay, final warning. This is the point I would stop watching if you don't want the ending to be spoiled for you. So if you plan on reading the book, go ahead and stop now. Otherwise, you have been warned. So what we eventually find out is that the doctor had, despite reports, already successfully been using his synapsifier to increase the intelligence of Earth's biologists, namely the virologists. These enhanced geniuses had developed a version of a typical Earth germ similar to chickenpox into something that would wipe out the rest of the galaxy in a matter of hours after first contracting the virus. They were going to use biological warfare on the rest of the galaxy, using a germ they were all already immune to. The germs had been developed. The miniature rockets had been designed and manufactured. Millions of them that would all launch in less than a week. Each one would infect an entire planet. Then the people of those planets would travel and spread it to others. There would be nowhere safe in the entire galaxy unless you were a native of Earth who had already caught its benign form as a child. The doctor only knew that he was helping the government. That is, until they brought back one of his patients who was having side effects. His brain was not taking the treatment well, and he was dying. But before he died, he confessed to the doctor what he was doing, what they were planning. He also claimed to be psychic as a result of the treatment. The doctor did not know if this man was just losing his mind or if he was speaking the truth. So when Joseph appeared as a volunteer, he had to know. Could his treatment really create a psychic? This was the real reason he treated Joseph. If Joseph started to show symptoms of becoming psychic, then it stood to reason that everything the man said was true, even about the viruses. But then Joseph escaped, tipping off the spy and ruining the doctor's plans. Despite this, the more the doctor thought about it, the surer he was that the man was telling the truth. If nothing else, the constant surveillance he was becoming more and more aware of was a tip-off. The doctor couldn't go to the Imperial authorities. The Earth authorities were watching him and would surely kill him before letting him enter the embassy. So what was he to do? Then, out of the blue, he got a message from an outsider, Belle Arvarden. On a whim, Belle had wanted to talk to the creator of the synapsifier, even if it was reported in the news to be a failure, before he left Earth forever. It wasn't until Belle was on his way that he put two and two together and realized that the beautiful young girl he had helped was the doctor's daughter. Well, he wouldn't mind seeing her again anyway, extra bonus. But when Belle arrived, however, he was treated to a door slammed in his face and a secret message shoved in his hand. He followed its instructions and met Pola in secret, where she informed him of everything that was going on and that he needed to convince the Empire that Earth was planning an imminent attack. But despite their precautions, the paranoid government of Earth had tracked them anyway, and they were now captured, along with the Doctor and Joseph Schwartz. All the people the theocracy thought was part of this plot against them. Thanks to Joseph's newly acquired psychic powers, they were able to escape to the embassy. But here, they ran into a problem. While the Earth was using its best and brightest to run their theocracy, The Empire saw Earth as the backwoods, as a dead-end system where they sent their screw-ups and oddballs to administrate. So the Empire's procurator of Earth had about as much initiative and common sense as a drunk, despite not being one. And the platoon stationed on Earth was a pack of miscreants who in any other case would have been dishonorably discharged long ago. So as they argued and debated the issue, the deadline passed and the missiles were launched. The galaxy was already dead, they just didn't know it yet. Or so it seemed. Thankfully, Joseph Schwartz, the 62-year-old man from 1950s Chicago, transported thousands of years into the future, where he was given telepathic and psychic abilities, saw the uselessness of the men they were talking to. He saw the deceptive abilities of those arguing against him, and with his massive intellect, he decided that actions were better than words. He used his mind to seek through the Imperial soldiers' minds for the most depraved among them, the one who hated the Earthlings the most, and when he found it, he pushed a thought into their head: where to bomb. And so, with that little push over the edge, the sociopathic soldier stole a bomber plane, took it to the location of the missiles full of viruses, and utterly destroyed the location, saving the lives of hundreds of trillions, possibly quadrillions of humans. Meanwhile, back at the embassy, now that the moment had passed, the leader of the theocracy couldn't help but gloat to the procurator about how he had single-handedly defeated the Empire, thus confessing to his crimes and sealing his fate once Joseph Schwartz revealed the truth. Okay, that's it for this one. If you like that at all, please like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you back here for the next one. Thanks for watching.